Hello, everybody. I'm Lando, joined alongside by CLAYSTER here for a quick little interview post what was a pretty interesting series versus the Toronto Ultra. However, 2 up, 2 down. CLAYSTER, you're officially through now to the bracket stage. Is this how you intended the group stage would go?
Definitely a little shakier than we wanted it to be, but yeah, I mean, we predicted we were getting through our group in first place.
Now, one thing the average audience member doesn't really get a chance to know about a ton, right, is the veto process, right? This is a team in terms of Toronto that is new. I mean, heck, pretty much every single event, they're pretty much somewhat of a new lineup. But were there any game modes or specific maps that you guys were especially aware of coming into this game versus the Ultra?
Yeah, I mean, we do our research, especially since bringing Rambo on as our coach. He's been helping us out on the analytics side of things as well, keeping track of stats during scrims and this, that, and the other. So we definitely have a game. We had a game plan going into it, and they fell for the game plan. And honestly, don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to give away too much information on how our team works. But definitely, we kind of swindled them into picking like maps that we wanted, and it just kind of goes to show that like you can't always take like your practice map count and apply that on land. So like, yeah, they were confident because they beat us the last 4 times they played us on Hackney Hardpoint, or like last 3 times, but we've improved on that map so much. So we knew they were going to pick it, and we were confident on it too. So it's one of those things where you kind of pigeonhole them into picking stuff you want.
Now let's kind of talk about actually in the midst of bringing up Hackney Hardpoint. Let's rewind things back to kind of that game 1 Hardpoint, if you will, a close one, right? And you guys actually do in some ways clutch up yet again on P5. Obviously versus LAG last night, here versus Toronto. What do you guys understand so well about that hill that's allowed for you guys to come away with 2 clutch victories in back-to-back series?
I really just think we lost that map on that hill so many times that we just drilled it a bunch. Like every scrim that we played, it was just like, I don't really care what else we're doing on the map. Like, let's focus on breaking P2 and let's focus on holding P5. And like the rest of the hills will come to us. And it's just really one of the things where all the players on our team understand where they need to be and where the spawns are for the enemy. And so we're allowed to like just really set up and lock people out. And it's a really easy hill to hold just because there's so much verticality. Like you can sit in all the windows upstairs, you can sit top 3. There's so many different areas you can sit. So it's really hard for the enemies to effectively clear you out without like a miracle 3-piece like Illy did yesterday. So it's one of the hills that's kind of a money hill, and it really just benefits us when we are able to get fully set up.
Well, you guys walked through the S&D, but obviously the next 2 respawns, the Domination and Hardpoint, didn't really fall the way that you wanted. Toronto, not typically a great team of Domination. Like I said, it's hard to assume that when they have a new team all the time. But what do you think they did right versus you guys on that Hackney Harp, or rather on that Hackney Dom?
Yeah, I mean, we had a really good opportunity to flip the spawns from C to A and for ourselves, and we were really close to doing it. I think like 1 or 2 kills left that we ended up not getting in time. And they just did a really good job at stopping our flip. I mean, that's what you try and do on Hackney Dom is if you have C spawns, you try and get A, flip them to C, and then you cap B and you have A, B. So that's really, they did a good job of just holding us off of that. And then, halfway through our good side, they ended up flipping us. And it's pretty much game over at that point. Especially if like we don't flip and then they flip, it's really hard. And I mean, we actually made it really close. I think it was like a 40-second game. I think it was like 10 points or something. So it was really close. And I honestly think, there's a couple mistakes, but we just got to be more effective on our flips and got to be more proactive about being defensive and make sure they don't flip.
Now, this Toronto roster made, considered by many, in some ways a questionable move coming into the online league by bringing in medals for Looney. Are you impressed by how this team has looked versus you guys and so far throughout the tournament?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this Toronto team's in a unique situation and have a unique group of really talented players that it's almost like decision anxiety in a way. It's like, I don't really know, like even me, I couldn't tell you who would be the best 5 starters on that team. So, it seems they found a good solid group, and those guys that they have, especially, the Europeans in medals and in Cami and in bands, like those guys really play really well, and they're making the most of their shot. And I think that they're going as hard as they possibly can to solidify their starting spot on the roster, and it shows. I mean, that Cami guy is an up and comer, and I think that a lot of people don't talk about Cami enough. I think Cami is going to be really, 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 really good as soon as he gets on the team he wants to be, or Toronto turns it around and starts kind of like letting him play and letting him be the star of the team. And kind of making him the X factor. So I think Cammy is super talented, and honestly, this Toronto team is in a unique spot, and I think they're making the most of it. I think that the 5 that they got now is a really good 5, and they're gelling together really well.
Now, is it fair to say, more than any other game mode, that you guys feel the best mentality-wise when a search and destroy is coming up next?
I don't know, man. It's we went over callouts for Piccadilly Search and Destroy today, by the way. So we're not as prepared as anybody might think we are. But really, it's the talent of S&D players we have on our team. I mean, like, if you look at our team, like, you have Ilya and Shotzi, obviously, but then, like, you look at me and Krim, who have been playing S&D forever, over a decade, and then Kyler is just like an animal in search. Yep. And so it's like, yeah, we're super, super confident, but I really think a hard point or dot, like, it's hard to say. Like, it just depends the map that the mode is on.
Sure.
I think there's some hard points we're the best in the game at. I think there's some S&Ds we're the best in the game at. And then I also think there's some S&Ds we're worse in the game at. So honestly, it's really just dependent on what map we're playing.
Well, on topic with that Piccadilly, right? Game 5, going from LAN now to online, the transition, does it feel any less important kind of going from a LAN versus online environment, considering what a Game 5 means right now?
Yeah, there's way less pressure. Like, it's so much easier to play from home and just to, like, be sitting in my bedroom. And, like, there was a moment after the map 4 where I kind of got heated a little bit about a play somebody made, and I was able to just, like, mute my mic and walk away, take a breather, and then come and sit back down. It's fine. And, like, nobody's yelling at me. The crowd's not cheering. There's not, like, lights. Like, it's just like, oh, it's the S&D. So, yeah, it's a lot easier to play from home.
Now, a lot of people kind of forget that Toronto actually in Atlanta did take Chicago as well to a Game 5. LAG looked solid versus you guys earlier, as well as in Florida as well, has also gotten kind of more attention now with Pharaoh. Who do you think looks the strongest, right, to manage and make it out of this, what has kind of been a grueling Group A?
Yeah, I have no idea, man. Like, if I had to guess, I would say Florida, but I honestly have no idea. I mean, Toronto just played really well against us right there. I mean, if they don't really choke that first map, they 3-1 us. So I put my money on Toronto, but I got a feeling that Florida's about to pick it up.
Okay. And looking ahead, right, you'll play the second seed out of Group B. That one, of course, is still being decided between Seattle and Minnesota, as well as Paris. The question is always asked, right, who do you want to play? But I'll say this, who would you be surprised to play in the bracket stage out of those 3?
See, I like the phrasing of that much better than what I'm normally asked. I'm going to be honest with you, because the who would you like to play always ends up coming back to bite you.
Right.
I would be surprised to play Seattle, honestly. It's just, they look better, but I don't know what's going on with them, man. Like, I think, like, we've been scrimming them a decent amount, and they look better. They feel like when we're playing them, they're a much harder team to play. But I would definitely be surprised to see them make it through both Minnesota and then Paris, because I kind of expect to play Minnesota in the semifinals.
Now, according to your tweets from earlier this morning, your mentions have clearly been interesting, right? From, Tiger King to Clash Royale. I know your mentions have been pretty interesting, especially now since the online league hit. Honestly, is it even just a little bit frustrating to see people talking about your team in terms of an online environment after you guys just won a LAN championship?
I mean, if anyone wants to say something about us playing online and they want to disregard us winning the last LAN we had, then I mean, that's on them. They're obviously just hating to hate. They aren't going to give you credit no matter what. So I mean, like, there's so many prerequisites that you have to do for a win to, like, count in a Huntsman fan mind. Like, you gotta win a tournament. You gotta have a great KD, because if somebody had a bad KD, they got carried, or even like a 1, they got carried. They get backpacked. But not only that, you gotta beat the top 3 teams on the way to winning the tournament, and then you have to beat them all 3-0. Because if it's like a 3-2 or 3-1, it's way too sketchy. So it's like, there's all these prerequisites that people always give you, but it's like,
sure,
I don't really care. We won the tournament that was just last on LAN, and yeah, we might be pretty good online because we're in the middle of the United States with fiber internet. But that doesn't change the fact that we just won the last LAN tournament, and we'll be the defending champions all the way until the next LAN tournament.
Oh, always keeping it real. That's CLAYSTER, 2-time world champion player for the Dallas Empire. Clay, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. And shout out to the sponsors: Corsair, Jack in the Box, Greyhound, and Jack Links.
Of course. Well, thank you so much to everybody for checking this out. You can expect content like this and so much more over at the Dallas Empire YouTube channel. Things like live streams every Tuesday, Warzone and pub dominance from the Empire's own, as well as weekly and post-event updates from the Codfather himself, good old Rambo Ray. Again, check out youtube.com/Dallas Empire for more.